Hey guys, it's Megan
and Stephanie.
We are Farm Besties
with
Farm Fresh Advice.
Here for
stalls.
Yeah, this is great.
The third version of stalls here at Lindenhof.
Yeah.
This is actually, we should have done the other stalls because we're out of succession. This is the last version. That's okay.
Well, that's okay.
So these are my favorite stalls.
Me too.
For multiple reasons. They're newer.
We left, in my opinion, the worst for last. We
did. So these have nice hardware.
So did you make these stalls?
No, we bought the hardware and then we had a builder who actually built them.
Oh, okay. So they didn't come pre-shipped wood and everything?
So this door came as is.
Okay.
Now,
these are hard to do.
Right. Yeah. He
There's
did not do any of this. He did screw in the blanket bar. I ordered the blanket bar from Woodstar. I believe they're in Delavan, Wisconsin, which is about 45 minutes.
Convenient for us.
Very convenient.
Being in southern Wisconsin.
And they're very convenient to work with. They were very helpful. Had many options. It's a very similar latch. However, I would say these latches are worse than my 30-year-old
I don't like
cells.
that at all.
Yeah. And so you can see how these need to be tightened. However, I can tell you the more you screw it in, the more you're going to strip your holes. So just be careful with that. That's why we have the latches. And right away I went to the latches. Also, you can see how this is, I don't know, it's, how old is it? It's 10 years old.
Is it already 10 years? Yeah, it is 10 years.
This is already 10.
So you do have that?
Yep. So go ahead and on.
Well, here, can you pull it through or no?
Yeah.
No, I mean with this on.
No, I don't want to do that. Yeah,
you don't want to, but.
So, but I love the black. However, I gotta say the horses do destroy them.
Yeah.
And it's all gonna rust. So just an FYI.
That's just a barn thing.
It's a barn thing. And we do have, like in the previous videos, I have windows.
Now, did you order them like that?
I did. Because I do find I did not have the hay nets at that time. So if I had,
you were pitching hay in.
We were pitching hay, but a few years after, and this stall actually doesn't have a hay net. Although I do think although it doesn't really matter, you can just not fill it. But I do like the option of having a hay net and having. But
then a hay net with no hay in it is also a bit of a hazard.
A hazard, yeah. So
agreed.
But again, I don't like having windows. I still ordered the windows because let's say you have an aggressive horse. Mm-hmm. I would like the option, but I can tell you none of my clients like to listen. So if you have a barn, they are going to open the window. And not everybody is like me. Some people like to have their windows open, but as this barn owner, I do not, just because of safety. And I'll tell people multiple times to keep the window, and I'll catch them.
Can I tell you a story that's worse than having the windows open?
Yeah.
So I boarded many, many years ago at a barn that had full doors just like this. And we had people that would put in.
Oh my God, I hate those. Yeah. Those will never, there are no
stall guard.
No.
And not like the netted stall guard.
No.
Like, just a single rope across, or they would do like 2 ropes across.
I hate when people do that.
And I would come in the evening because a lot of times I couldn't get there till after dinner. So I'd arrive at 7 o'clock, and you'd have a horse who would be out in the aisle because they had figured out how to come under. And and
dangerous.
Oh my gosh,
dangerous. I could not be at that barn.
Oh my gosh,
I would lose my mind. No, that will never happen here.
Yeah, and I actually put them in on my my stalls, but it was solely used for when I was cleaning. Just because the way I was cleaning the stalls, well, I actually used our UTV. I would drive the UTV up, and let's say, because sometimes just due to cost considerations, my stall doors, I would have 2 next to each other. Uh-huh. So you could have somebody cleaning here and here. So the UTV would be about halfway.
Yeah.
And it would just be a little barrier to keep if there was a horse in.
Yeah.
But it was never used for anything else. Yeah. And if it was a problem, it got removed. Yeah. And it was never a problem. But, Yeah.
No.
Sorry to digress, but I fully believe in stall doors.
So then, just like my other ones, I did order these feeders, like my old feeders. However, there was a plastic feeder. So I thought it was an improvement. I would not order those again. No,
I don't like these at all.
No, the horses would put their butts up to them and bash the plastic, and the plastic would break. And I'm too cheap, so this is what we have now. But I do like these. Actually, I like what we saw at the hospital. I prefer those.
Yes.
Remember those?
Yes.
But now what we do is these are convenient to, like, again, if you have an aggressive horse, it's nice to have a feeder down here that we can easily not go in the stall. So I really, really like that. So we'll show you. We'll come on in and we'll show you it's just a simple feed pan. And I like these because these were a pain to take. They're bolted in. So if we wanted to scrub them down, which I do like scrubbing them down and cleaning them out, was such a pain. It'd be an all day event. Whereas this, you can just come on in, take it out to the wash rack, clean it out, and then bring it back in. The other thing I didn't show you in some of the other stalls, these are eye hooks. I personally prefer double-ended snaps. Some people prefer carabiners. I don't know. I've always had a fondness for the double-ended snap. However, be careful. They can freeze. I haven't had it happen too often, so you might want a carabiner. I prefer this setup because it's not in my old stalls. There's a hook, and we just hook the bucket. The horses can rip it off the wall. They can poke themselves.
And notice how you have the hooks, snaps facing the wall.
Yep. So never have the snap. Well, first of all, it's just easy to clip. Like if you're carrying a full bucket, I mean, how silly would it be? And people have done that. So just FYI, but it's just so much easier to do it this way. So yeah, and then the other thing that we did, which you may or may not be able to see, in these stalls, so in my old stalls, we have 4 mats, and all the time the horses are putting shavings, poop, whatever, underneath, so it's buckling. And so these are 2 stall mats, and it was awful putting them in. Heavy? It was huge. Yeah, we couldn't lift them. And so I thought it was a great investment. I still think it is, depending on the stall. These are 10 years old, but we haven't had to level this stall out. Now, there are other stalls that horses really beat up the mats, and now there's only 2 mats versus 4. I personally would prefer 1 mat. Again, very difficult to move. Make sure you have very strong people.
Well, and I really like
Maxton Farms.
Maxton Farm had cow mattresses.
Yep.
And I'm loving that. That's a great, invention.
Yes.
From the dairy industry.
Yep.
Oh my gosh.
And they're thicker than these mats.
They're soft. Yep. They're light.
Yep. All the things. But if you can afford it, I mean, it all depends. It really depends on budget, in my opinion. So I went with the 2 mats. The other thing I would highly recommend is these braces. Yes. I just noticed we don't have a brace on this wall. I would suggest always, I had a horse in our barn was 2 weeks old. And we didn't discuss in the old stalls, but, behind that is a feed room now, but it used to be a pasture. And so I left the doors open so the horses could go in and out. Well, the horse came in, rolled, and put its foot between these 2 boards. And I came home, found it on the ground with the leg through the boards. We had to tranquilize her before we could cut the boards and get her free. And she had been there for a few hours. So I highly, highly recommend these braces. Or a variation, because I think you have 2x4s.
Yep. However, there were 2x6s, and then you can see how that one's tapered. Mm-hmm. And we did the same thing on the end of the 2x6. We just kind of beveled the edge to make them somewhat rounded.
Yeah.
So the idea was to try to deter chewing.
Yeah. Yeah.
That nice crisp edge they can just get their teeth on and take a chunk out of.
So I would recommend braces. Yes. I can't think of anything else.
And you stained them, or did they come stained?
We did stain them. You can see
you have to replace boards.
This board had to be replaced. And again, I've had no time. They've only been stained once. And I have no time, and there's just too much traffic. So think about that as well.
So if you're going to stain this, you have to strip it, wash it down, let it dry. I mean, that's like days of work.
Yeah. So
especially the drying, because you do really need to scrub them down. If you're going to put stain on them, you don't need all the dust on them.
No, underneath. No, if I were to do it all over again, I would have drains in the main aisle. I'd have a cemented aisle, and then I could come in and power
power wash.
Yes. But we can't. We have dirt floors. And all the things. So, and too much traffic. Whereas
you should mention that you in these stalls as well, you do have fans.
We have a fan for every stall in this aisle.
It gets hot. I know everybody thinks Wisconsin is the frozen tundra, and it is currently right now in winter.
Yeah.
But in the summer, it gets brutal.
It gets very hot. So
very humid, very hot. So
this is one of my favorite stalls.
Definitely
at Lindenhof. So at my barn.
All right. So we have one more part 5 coming. Please make sure if you haven't checked out parts 1, 2, and 3, go back, check those out, and of course, please come back for part 5. And of course, please subscribe.
Please, and share and like and make comments.
Yeah, if you got questions,
our channel out.
Let us know.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys. We'll see you on part 5.